All right.
Hey,
Thank you
Gladys.
so much for giving me your time. Out of the many things I know you are having to handle, it's a really good opportunity to get to talk with you and have this conversation with you.
Thank you so
So
much. Yeah, thank you.
and it basically centered around why we do action research. And I wondered if you wanted to elaborate on the notion of what the power with structure is, and how can complex healthcare systems, for instance, engage with it?
That's a difficult question, right? But I think it's a fantastic question, and I'm delighted to talk about it. I'm delighted that you're interested precisely in this issue, because I think it's central. It's not the only thing, but I'd say it's like one of three things that are most central for us in our practice of action research for transformations. So let's situate ourselves a little bit. I understand that you're in the healthcare world, and some of the primary obvious power issues are how physicians relate to nurses. And you notice how I'm going up and down. Now, everybody says we're a team, but I think that shift from, I was showing it earlier, from triangle to circle is it's a little tricky, but I think physicians and nurses are managing it reasonably well. Can give some examples of that later, partly out of just interprofessional respect and understanding that this needs to happen, et cetera, et cetera. Another very important power over is physician and patient, or indeed healthcare personnel, nurse, physician, therapist, and patient, and how trained the patient is to be passive in the space of expertise. So that's another one of those triangles. And why not have a third one? I think one of the things behind the scenes that I think has tremendous power over us, all of us, because it's invisible, is, it sounds so abstract, but for me it's so real. What is the purpose of knowledge? So as action researchers, behind the scenes is the sense that real knowledge is, it's got statistics and it's got expertise, and it allows you to tell people what to do. And for us as action researchers, we've really come to deeply question that, I think. And so that, in a way, for me, is the triangle of all triangles, right? So what does it mean that knowledge can be both expert? I mean, we want experts, we need experts, but in such a way that knowledge itself can be treated as something that's useful and will really only be useful when it's brought more into this circular form. The big thing for action researchers is to, I think, make this distinction, very important distinction that goes back to John Dewey, between scientific temperament and scientific method. We don't use the scientific method. It's just not appropriate in the relational settings in which we work. We don't have hypotheses usually. I mean, we can, but it's not so usual. And stuff just emerges, like this system that I was discussing. But we do have a scientific temperament, and that temperament is very much concerned with self-correction, literally of the ones doing the work, but also of the system, the actual healthcare system in this case. So using this self-correcting mechanism of reflecting together, bringing stakeholders involved, therefore we almost have the reasoning for this shift from the triangle to the circle. It's not just because we want to be nice. It's not just because we respect patients, although that's true.
Yes.
It's also because we end up with better information when there's just more eyes, if you will, there's more hearts in but for hospital administrators, they can see these share the same things in the sense that they're both organizations, they're both complex, but if you invite in the people, if you create a relational space with the people, if you begin to think together about kind of obvious, even if they're difficult, obvious solutions together,
Yeah.
all of a sudden you can begin to take action. So for me, these are nice examples of the three spaces of art coming together,
Together. Wow.
moving from triangle to circle.